Morning, 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 morning. Oh, oh, man. Don't you just hate it when you got to eat crow and get the egg off your face? I made a comment in yesterday's podcast. This is a follow-up to yesterday's weekend wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I made a comment based on my experiences and what we did about insurance. I believe I owe, and Rob, I don't know how to say your last name, but I owe Rob an apology. I did a little bit of look. Some people sent me some information. When we got our insurance, part of my job as the COO of Alladay LLC was to oversee day-to-day operations, but to make sure everything ran smooth. And in order to develop a good quality control program, in order to have, like I said, a good quality control policy, you have to have service specs. When we discussed the services we were going to be providing for for other companies, we were asked, "What are you going to do?" We were never asked how much revenue we took in. They did look at what we billed, but not, they never asked, okay, what are your net revenue sales? What this? They did, the Workman's Comp issue was based on pay. And again, I went a different route on Workman's Comp. There is a way to do that if you have a lot of employees, that'll help you. But what I said yesterday was that Rob was wrong, that insurance rates are based on revenues, is what he said, and it appears he's correct. So everybody understands what we were asked. Risk, did they assess the risk of our service? Well, here's what I had to do. First, they asked us, okay, what are you providing? What are you going to do? I laid it out. Back to the QC policy. If you're going to have a good QC policy, in order to train your employees, you have to have service specs. You have to have something to go off. So every service we provided, we had specs there you were required to do, just like, the work orders say you have to do all this work. Again, control. Think about this for just a minute, where I'm going with this and what I'm about to say here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to have a QC policy, you must have service specs so you can train employees properly. It was that simple. That said, if you're training employees properly, and one of the things that our insurance agent asked us, how often do you have company meetings and training sessions? We had a company meeting once a month. We would have a weekly meeting with our field supervisors. So that was a little thing that helped us reduce the insurance rates. But what they did was they analyzed all the services we provided, who we were going to sub to, who we were going to bring in as far as trade, licensed trades, roofers, electricians, plumbers, etc. But they looked at all of our services, the service specs, and then they assessed the risk. Like I said, we sit down in that, and then they asked us what we were going to do. They asked us for the specs. I gave them all that stuff, and then they formulated a policy for us. And keep in mind, we were in a different business realm at that time as what's going on in the industry today. We were already an established business with insurance. Very important there to understand that, and how we transformed. We already had liability insurance in play. I think we were paying about, $650 a year. It wasn't very much, because all we were doing is, cleaning up yards at that time. When we submitted the service specs for everything we were doing, it jumped to about $1,700 a year for the first year. But every year we had to submit safety records, meetings, all this stuff, and we had to show proof of meetings. We had to show no injuries and all this kind of stuff. So they based our policy on services provided, the service specs, and the amount of risk per service. That was kind of critical. I learned a lot about insurance going forward. And it's like I say, I have a problem with Workman's Comp because they want to come in and bill you based on what you pay your employees versus your safety records. And that's the issue I have with insurance. It seems like the people who never have an accident, never have an on-site injury, never do anything. They don't get a reduction in workman's comp rates. They don't get anything. And they're paying for the bad companies that have bad policy or maybe not bad policy, but maybe they just don't have a good workman's comp policy. In that respect, that was that was what I based my statement on yesterday. Rob is correct about premiums being based on revenues. We just had a different scenario going on. And remember, this was 10 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. This is not what's going on today in the industry. And as I said, when we entered the industry, we were an established business with insurance in place. It was like when all these people started talking to, oh, God, this is wonderful, blah, 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 blah. They were just, not only that, but they were kind of impressed that I was able to negotiate because they wanted to start me at $15 an hour on debris. And I said, you bumped your head. There ain't no way I can make that work. I said, I need at least $35 an hour. We settled at 28 or something like that, I think is what it was at the time. And now, because prices have changed, we bill a minimum $40 a yard. So that's how that works. In regards to the information that I put out on the work, on the clear boarding, I hate doing this, man, but I got off the phone. I've been on the phone this morning with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo had me send a couple pictures, and I heard somebody drop a coffee cup. They could not believe what was said. So that said, Wells Fargo has opened an investigation on that house, and from the ground up, it's companies like you that give everybody else in this industry a bad name, and I hope they arrest you for the work. That is how bad that work is. Criminal on that house up in Maine, in Biddeford, Maine. That is disgusting. And this wasn't just one person, ladies and gentlemen. I had a couple different people notify me about this. But what made me report on this and get a hold and contact Wells Fargo and find out, a real estate agent contacted me and said, hey, I know you look into fraud. And that's all they said. I sell real estate in Maine. I know you look into fraud. Maybe this is something that you need to take a look at. And when I called Wells Fargo, their representative, I spoke with a gentleman named Paul. He opened an investigation on this property, and this is what he said to me. He goes, hey, thank you for doing this. We don't know. We'll open an investigation. We appreciate you looking out. And this is what I told Paul. I said, look, I have been an advocate for labor in the property preservation industry for the last 10 years. I bang management and I bang them hard. I almost beat them with the board almost every day. I said, but at the same time, if I'm going to beat up on organizations like NAMFS and their membership, I got to go beat up labor when they do stupid crap like this. I'm sorry. If you're labor and you're doing this, you're giving the rest of the labor members of property preservation a bad name, and the good members, the members of labor that sent me this information to investigate and look into, they're protecting their interests. They are good members of labor. They provide quality services. There's nothing wrong with pushing these people out of the industry, ladies and gentlemen. These are the hack contractors that are underbidding you and taking the work from you that you should be able to do and make a decent living. I have never in my life, and ladies and gentlemen, I've been a glazer. I've been in the glass industry doing glass work since I was 18 years old. 42 frickin' years now. Okay? I have never in my entire life seen a board up that atrocious, that disgusting, that despicable. I'm sorry, I've never seen anything that was so absurd as that. I have never seen a mess left behind like that. And I have worked on some major, major projects. And when you do hackouts in the glazing industry, you come across some really scrappy crap work sometimes, but nothing ever compared to how bad and how awful that job looks from the pictures that I was sent. I was sent photographs from 5 different people about this house. And one of them said, hey, the other guy's really, he goes and gets people. He goes, you're a little more diplomatic than he is. That's why they were sent to me. And I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. And in all fairness, I did consult with Paul. He has a little more knowledge on how to go about this in the back room, back door, whatever you want to call it. He's a little more, he does that a little better than I do. So I consulted with him to how to approach this and where to go with it. And that was what I did. I called Wells Fargo Asset Management Preservation Department this morning and spoke with them. And Paul informed me they will be opening an investigation on this property. And I hope they go get that. I hope they arrest those people that did that job. The name on the paperwork was from the ground up. I'm sorry. You're disgusting and you need to get out of the industry. You need to go punch a time clock for somebody. So when you do something like that, you can be fired right on the spot. That's what you need to do. You don't belong in property preservation. You're not a contractor. You're a piece of garbage. And you give the rest of the good quality service providers in this industry a bad name. It makes it difficult. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm upset about this. Companies that do work like this make it difficult for companies like you and me to negotiate numbers, because that is always in the back of their mind. You guys do this. You guys do that. You think about that. I'm not saying one for all for one, but what I am saying is when you see work like that, it needs to be reported. When you see, I'm going to tell you something here. Many years ago, they started, I don't know if you guys remember when Fannie Mae was having contractors check each other. I knew going in that was going to be a problem. I knew it going in, it was going to be a problem. In our area, we all got together and said, hey, look, they're sending us behind each other. Here's what we need to do. If it was something, I would always contact the company name on there and say, hey, I'm here, blah, 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 blah. What we did, we tried to help each other. If it was something petty, minor, if it needed a dust rag, we dusted it off. They did the same for me. Think about that. Companies that didn't do that were companies that did this work on the Alford Street property up there in Maine, in Biddeford, Maine, that you guys saw in yesterday's video. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to get out of here today. I got a big day ahead of me, but I just wanted to correct the record. Rob, sorry. Getting the egg off my face, dude. Getting the egg off my face. Rob is correct. Our company had different circumstances, and that was how our policy was written, and that's what I based my statement on. Again, Rob is correct about the insurance and the way it, as far as revenues dictate premiums. And there you go, folks. Every now and then I got to bite my tongue and say, hey, I messed up. And that's how it's done, I guess. I don't know what to say. Rob, I do apologize. You were correct. I was wrong there. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a great day. Going to be a great day. We got a fire in the area, so we got smoke. My eyes are kind of burning already today. It's kind of nasty here with the smoke in the air, but it's all good. It's all good. Let's have a great day. Let's all be safe out there.